so exciting to see each of your faces here, and I am just so delighted to be here. I guess I'm still not quite new anymore. I started here at the School of Theology in January 2021, so I'm going into my full second year, and I'm so excited. My area of scholarship and expertise is actually as a historian of history of Christianity with a focus on the Reformation's era. But my particular research interest is actually the history of biblical interpretation. Because I started off as a biblical scholar and then did a change late, and so I kind of brought those loves together. So, FYI, I usually teach a class in the spring on the history of biblical interpretation, which is one of my favorite classes to teach when you think about how the Bible is interpreted over time, what remains the same, what shifts, what influences how we read the scripture. So anyway, it's a fun class, and it was a joy to teach it for my first time last spring. But let me say a little bit more just about why I love this school and why I'm excited about where we are at this moment. I think you've really come to this school at a really incredible time in the larger landscape of the church and religious communities and religious nonprofits, as well as the larger landscape of theological education. You could say we're at a crisis point in certain ways, but I also think every crisis is an opportunity. And so, the churches are changing, and the way we think about churches are changing. And I think because I believe in God, and I believe that God has a purpose in one way or another, even if those changes are hard, I think it's something that might well be needed for our day-to-day, right? That we need a church that really thinks about social justice profoundly. We need a church that really has integrity. We need a church that really embodies love and prophecy together and really has a heart for social justice while also a heart for the gospel and scripture and things of that sort. We also need a church that's very kind, humble, loving, compassionate about interfaith relations, right? And a broader view of what it might mean to be Christian, as well as a broader view of what it might mean to be spiritual. And so my dream and my hope for this school is that we might shape leaders and scholars, pastors and community organizers that really come with that kind of grounded self-knowledge that is also humble and compassionate. I'm a church historian. And I know the church has done a terrible job on too many times of its history of doing that. In fact, I'll tell you why I'm a church historian is because my crisis of faith was precisely the history of Christianity. And that was like, I have a deep faith in God and a kind of, spiritual life. That wasn't really my crisis. My crisis was, how can this church or these people who call themselves Christian, because I do identify as Christian, how do these people be that and act these ways when they make these claims? So I really dream for this school that we might, pursue, yes, knowledge and learning, but that we might do that with a kind of deeper integrity, a deeper compassion, a deeper openness, ability to listen. In this world that's so siloed and so separated and so not even getting to the place where they can't even listen or be in the same room, I'm hoping we can be the kind of people that learn how to be in the room and honor difference, truly honor difference, truly listen, and the both and also hold on to your own convictions. I often talk about a difference between conviction and certainty. I don't think we as spiritual and religious people are called to be certain. Faith is not necessary if you're certain. Faith is exactly because you have to act at the best you can at the moment that you can. But I do think we're called to be people of conviction. And that conviction, though, since it's not a solid grasp of certainty, has to go alongside listening, humility, and compassion. Also, my dream for the school is I think we're at a crossroads for theological education. So we will be we are in the midst of launching a strategic plan, and you'll hear about that more in the coming year. We'll also be thinking about a curriculum review in the coming years. And we'll be thinking about that because we want to really be a school that is actually forming people for what the needs of the church and religious communities are today, and not sort of a church that may no longer exist, right? The other way we want to think about that is to be more committed and live deeply into our diversity, equity, and inclusion and our community principle statement. So we'll be thinking a lot about that this year as we prepare for curriculum review. All right, I've said enough, but I just want you to know that I think this is a really amazing time. I'm so grateful to see all the faces around the room. FYI, I'm half Korean, half white, and I grew up as a missionary kid in Korea, so I know what it means if you're international students in the room. I know a bit of what that looks like to have that culture shock, because I spent my younger years in Korea, and then came to stateside for schooling. So welcome.